Imagine being stranded in the vast and endless expanse of space. No communication, no hope of rescue, and only a finite amount of resources to survive. It sounds like a nightmare. But for astronauts, it's a real risk. The idea of space travel has always fascinated us. The idea of exploring the unknown. The endless possibilities that lie beyond our planet. But as we venture further into the great unknown, we must also consider the risks. One of the biggest risks for astronauts is the possibility of becoming lost in space. The idea of being stranded in the cold vacuum of space is a terrifying thought. But what would happen if it actually happened? How would an astronaut survive? Welcome to our channel, Astro Adventures. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into a topic that's not often discussed, but is just as important as any other space-related topic. What happens if an astronaut gets stranded in space? We've all heard of the famous Apollo 13 mission, where the astronauts had to use all of their resources and ingenuity to make it back to Earth after an accident. But what if there was no way for them to make it back? Training is key. Astronauts must be prepared to survive in the harshest of environments. But even with the best training, there are no guarantees. The reality is, being stranded in space is a real possibility. And it's not just the physical dangers that astronauts must contend with. The psychological toll of isolation and confinement can be just as deadly. But even in the face of such adversity, the human spirit is resilient. And as we continue to explore the final frontier, we must be prepared for the worst, while holding on to hope for the best. We'll start by looking at the dangers that an astronaut would face if they were stranded in space. The first and most obvious danger is the lack of air. An astronaut only has a limited supply of oxygen. And once that runs out, they only have a few minutes to live. But that's not the only danger. The extreme temperatures in space can also be a problem. Without the protection of Earth's atmosphere, an astronaut would be exposed to temperatures as low as -250 degrees Fahrenheit and as high as 250 degrees Fahrenheit. But fear not, space enthusiasts. Today's technology has made it possible for us to consider the possibility of survival in these extreme conditions. We'll take a look at the International Space Station and how it provides a safe haven for astronauts. We'll also look at the new advancements in space suits that have the capability to sustain life for longer periods of time. And we can't forget about the role of NASA and SpaceX in rescuing stranded astronauts. We'll take a look at the current plans and procedures in place to rescue stranded astronauts, and how they're constantly working to improve them. And we'll also discuss the future possibilities of colonizing other planets, and how it can help us to survive in space in the long run. But we can't talk about survival in space without mentioning the one person who has been making headlines for his work in space, Elon Musk and his SpaceX. We'll take a look at the current projects that SpaceX is working on and how they're pushing the boundaries of space travel. So, stay tuned for an exciting and informative video about the space.